Hello and welcome to the video about the steepest road in the UK, the Applecross Pass. So before we even begin and before even we can take on this pass, there is a sign, a weather-beaten, sticker-plastered road sign, so covered in graffiti and travel stickers over the years that it had to be replaced entirely. The original now lives in the Applecross Heritage Centre, preserved as, in the words of its curator, a piece of history, a road sign in a museum. That tells you everything you need to know about what comes next. It reads, "This road is not a recommended for learner drivers, caravans, or very large vehicle." That's it, no fanfare, no drama, just a quiet warning on a quiet road at the foot of something that is anything but quiet. Welcome to the Bialech La Ba. From the Scottish Gaelic, it means simply and beautifully the Pass of the Cattle. This is the steepest road climb in the United Kingdom. It rises from sea level to 626 meters, that's about 2054 feet, and that too in just under 6 miles. Gradients hammer past 20%. The hairpin bends double back on themselves like something you would find in the Swiss Alps or the Dolomites, not in the Scottish Highlands, and yet here it is. To understand this road, you have to understand the land. The Applecross Peninsula juts out into the inner sound on Scotland's northwest coast, a rugged finger of an ancient rock pointing westward toward the Isle of Skye and the outer Hebrides. The mountains here are not young, dramatic volcanic peaks. They are old, deeply, almost incomprehensibly old. When you look at these mountains, you are looking at something that predates complex life itself. For most of human history, the Applecross Peninsula was accessible only by a sea. The mountains formed an almost impenetrable wall to the east, and that isolation was not incidental, it was, for a time, entirely the point. Now let's have a look at how this impossible road was built at all. In 1818, work began on a road. The project was funded jointly by government commissioners, part of a broader ambitious program of Highland road building, and by the Mackenzie Lades of Applecross, who contributed 1/4 of the cost. The total bill, accounting for the enormous difficulty of the terrain, was equivalent of over £500,000 in today's money. The man behind the design was Thomas Telford, one of the most brilliant civil engineers Britain has ever produced. Telford was already legendary by this point. He had built hundreds of miles of Highland roads, the Caledonian Canal, aqueduct in Wales, he understood Scottish terrain in his bones. Having grown up as a shepherd's son himself, he knew how to read a mountain. And what Telford designed for the Bealach Bar was not a timid compromise. He didn't try to find an easier route. He looked at the mountain head on and decided to go straight at it, in a manner of the great alpine passes of continental Europe. Switchbacks, hairpin bends, zigzag traverses that gain altitude as efficiently as possible. The road was then completed after 4 years in 1822. For the first 130 years, the surface was a rough gravel, not tarmac, gravel. Winter closures were not a possibility to plan around. They were simply a fact of life. And this is what you see at the sign also. It says impassable during the winter session. When heavy snow fell, and it often fell, the hard road might be blocked for weeks at a stretch. Applecross would return to what one writer described at its earlier island existence, relying entirely on the steamer service from Stornoway and Kyle of Lochlash for any contact with the outside world. And tarmac didn't arrive until the 1950s. The road we drive today and the road that you're seeing in this video still is a single track, still dramatic of course, still bearing the same bones that Telford laid out 2 centuries ago. Wow. Was finally sealed in that decade, giving the surface that makes the hairpin bends possible for modern vehicles. The warning sign that we talked about in the beginning of the video was added later, sensibly. So, the Applecross Pass is many things. It is an engineering achievement. Thomas Telford's audacious decision to go straight at the mountain to build a British alpine pass in a landscape that most engineers would have walked away from. It is a historical artery, the track that 7th century monks walked to carry the gospel northward, the route that Highland rovers used for centuries to move cattle from the Atlantic coast to markets at Muir of Ord, at Falkirk, eventually at London, the only link between a remote community and the rest of Scotland for much of its modern history. It is a test also of nerve, of mechanical sympathy, of your ability to focus on tarmac when every instinct is screaming at you to look at the view. Absolutely, absolutely. When you drive this road, and I beg you to do this if you're planning to come to Scotland, you really will have an experience that you will never ever forget. And it is a privilege, a reminder that there are still places in these islands where the landscape holds the upper hand, where the road exists not to impose human order on the wilderness, but to offer humans a carefully managed passage through it. You do not conquer the Applecross Pass. You're permitted to cross it on its own term, in its own time, and in its weather. The Gaelic name carries its history with grace, the pass of the cattle, the Belech Nabah, a name that speaks of ordinary life, of farmers and rovers, of cold mornings and difficult crossing, of communities doing what communities do to survive in hard country. No heroism, not adventure, just plain routine, mundane work. But standing at the summit on a clear evening with sky on the horizon and the whole ancient landscape beneath you, the distinction between the ordinary and the extraordinary collapses. The descent from the summit toward the Applecross is a different experience entirely. Where the eastern approach was all tension and altitude gain, the western side is revelation. The road winds down through open moorland and suddenly, almost shockingly, the sea appears, not as a distant glimmer, but as a presence wide and blue. And immediately in front of you, the Applecross Bay opens up below with its crescent of sand and its scattering of white painted houses, and behind it all, the great silhouette of sky. The view in the right light and the light on the west coast of Scotland changes every 5 minutes, every hour, every season, has stopped more than one person in their tracks. On the summer evening, with the sun sinking towards the Hub Ridis and the turning the inner sound to hammered gold, it is one of those views that make you temporarily forget whatever it was that you were worried about. Absolutely so. The village of the Applecross itself is a small, quite genuinely remote. In winter, if the pass is closed, the only access is via the long coastal road around the northern tip of the peninsula, a road that adds considerable time and distance. The community here, just around 250 people, lives with that reality and always has. There is a petrol pump, community owned and available 24 hours. There is a walled garden cafe set in the grounds of the old Applecross house that still serves lunch and evening meals of remarkable quality using local produce. There's a village hall also where music happens, community happens, and highland life happens. And then there is the Applecross Inn also. The cattle drovers saw this view, the monks saw this view. 2,000 years of human life has moved through this pass, and the mountain does not acknowledge any of it. It simply stands as it has stood for 1 billion years. And now you are here too. Drive carefully, my friend. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you liked it. Thank you so much again.